Affairs Analyst, Gbola Oba. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. You're welcome. Now, the issue of pension package for former governors has been an issue that has been saddled with some sort of controversy over time. And in fact, at the time, people didn't know how much was even pegged to it until this letter was leaked. Although the Zamfara state has taken a step to abolish that law, but what came to mind, first of all, for you when you saw the humongous package, as some have called it?
People have always known. Let's be very honest ourselves. It's just that we function in a society where, as a result of cultural, religious, tribal baggage, these pieces of baggage tend to make us function in a very inimical way to our self-interest. The Lagos state government was the Lagos House of Assembly in 2007 was the first to legislate such a law. And that law, amongst other things, some of us lambasted them for enacting such a law then, amongst other things, guarantees the outgoing governor 6 vehicles every 3 years. 8 policemen to guard him, members of his family. Medical trip abroad without any cap to what it could cost. And in virtually all the states of the Federation, such obscene law has been replicated. So we know. But we are a people who are not just cut out to be good Democrats. Because in a vibrant democracy, accountability, eternal vigilance, it is said, is the ultimate prize of liberty.
So Zamfara has taken a step in the right direction, that's what you're saying?
The reason why Zamfara has taken the step in the right direction is actually one of the reasons for which the constitution that we have gone to borrow from America was birthed. Sometimes in any polity, it is always good to have contrarian ideas conflicting with each other, and when the opposite idea prevails over the erstwhile ruling idea, something happens. And usually that is why some of us pray that politicians should always get into squabbles. Look, what happened in Zamfara as a result of the misadministration of the rules of the party, a party that ordinarily not ought to have been in power, came to power as a result of judicial largesse, the Supreme Court ruled. Now, they used to be in the same party together. But now, the ruling party is the party different from the party that enacted.
Most every state follows it, because some will argue that Lagos State has internal generated revenue, while other states do not. Lagos is different from other states, and other states might not. My
brother, compare Lagos with equivalent cities in Africa. And I mean, Lagos has more population than Joburg. Lagos has more population than Cairo. Lagos is infrastructurally deficient far more than Joburg. Lagos is lousily infrastructurally deficient far more than Cairo. And yet, we call Lagos rich. Something is wrong with our middle class. Wrong. Look, compare Lagos with the equivalent cities. Go out of Africa and compare Lagos with equivalent cities like Jakarta, Rio de Janeiro. The total budget of Lagos is not up to the budget of New York's fire department.
True.
All right.
So why are we so comfortable with poverty that we even excuse away what we know to be anathema? Look who amongst the former governors of Lagos.
We have to.
Who amongst the former governors of Lagos is so indigent that thing will be a lifeline for?
All right. Well,
Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
You know what? We'll continue this conversation
Allah has been gracious
much
to
later.
Okay.
We'll continue this conversation much later. We have to leave it at this point right now. Thank you so much for your contribution so far.
Well, joining us now is the Public Affairs Analyst, Gbola Oba. Thank you very much, Gbola, for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity once again.
700 million naira, that's a huge amount of money. So in this sense now, how should the federal government and other state governments cut costs? Do we also remove the monthly allowances given to governors and speakers?
700 million naira in a state like Zamfara is like practically just abusing the populace. It's a lot of money. But having said that, let's look at the central dysfunctionality or paradox of our budgeting.
Okay.
Averagely at the federal level, 70% of the resources of state in any given year is dedicated to remunerations, recurrent expenditure, paying salaries. Only 30% is dedicated to the things that will galvanize economic activities and increase productivity and indeed make us, bail us out from the cul-de-sac of poverty in which we're caught up in. That in itself should speak to the fact that political leadership from the federal to the state and to the local strata of government ought to do something urgently, because you cannot be eating your seed. No society eats its seed.
When you say do something urgently, how do you mean? Because the government has been talking about cutting cost of governance. And we know that this humongous amount is still there saddled with, for Nigerians to pay. And now there is an increase in value-added tax because we are looking at other means of generating revenue.
That solution is like the solution of a man who is short-sighted. The easy cow to abuse is the cow with the fat bosom. So go and just milk it again. You would ultimately milk that cow to the death. When you say the increase in, when you alluded now to the increase in value-added tax, it means that, my sister, when you bought this lovely red dress you're wearing, when you want to buy it again, anytime you want to buy it again, just imagine 2.5% of the amount you paid then would be excised from you. And your salary is still the same thing. Look, it's easy. When you are in an environment where leadership is intellectually lazy, they will go for the low-hanging fruit of people who are supine. A creative government would not use tax as the first option. Galvanize, incentivize productivity, encourage creativity and innovativeness, find a way to let the most important and most potent agency of prosperity anywhere in the world, the human element, be productive in your economy. You will then discover that we don't have a revenue problem, we have a leadership problem. The Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Commission says there is a stated amount of money that people should earn when they are in public offices. We have discovered across the value chain, all strata of governance in Nigeria, that ostensibly, the salary defined by Revenue Mobilization Allocation of Fiscal Commission will be X amount. The political office holders, through machinations of class conspiracy, would then make X amount plus humongous the real salary. How come a senator who officially on paper is supposed to be earning 750,000 naira in Nigeria ends up going home with about 13 million naira every month? Something is wrong somewhere.
Okay, so how do you think this governor of Zamfara State should expend this money? He has mentioned that pensioners have not been paid for years.
He has stated, and I'm not taking by any populist pronouncement by a politician. He has stated that this money will be used to address issues of unemployment for the youths and put to infrastructural development. But talk is cheap, and especially when talk is coming from a political. I'm sorry to say that talk is cheap.
Unemployment for the youths.
It
seems to be a general talk, a blanket statement. What are you going to do with the money?
Beautiful. You are just agreeing with me, my brother. So it means that journalists like you, whenever you have the opportunity to talk to the gentleman, or whenever you have the opportunity to interview him, tell him to give us the specifics. So that, because talk is cheap, like the advert of one company in a country that I used to live, states, talk is cheap. Use it to address the issue of youth unemployment and infrastructure. Which infrastructure? So that when we have identified the specific thing, we can mark you on the performance.
That would be the role of the citizens, accountability now.
You are a beautiful woman. Far more beautiful intellectually than you are physically. My sister, we are where we are. And I'm sorry to say this. And I tell my friends, they don't like listening to me when I say this. We are where we are because the likes of Gbola Oba and those of us who are fortunate to be in the upper middle class of Nigeria have seen being part of those who are eating the lottery as a dangling carrot. You know what? Majority of those who are in government across local government, my housewife is a local government vice chairman. My friends are commissioners. My friends are governors in some places. Because we've seen the potential of that is the Nigerian dream. So what? In some other markets, the American dream would be if you can make it. I can also come here and get creative and get innovative and be rewarded by the market.
All right, thank you very
Gbola
much.
Oba, thank you for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Joining us now is a public affairs analyst, Gbola Oba. Thank you for joining us on TVC
Always a privilege
Breakfast.
to be on your set.
Now, there has been calls by other states member or Nigerians basically asking that other states take a cue from Zamfara. How easy do you think that would be, seeing that this, according to reports, is part of the law, like you had stated earlier? How easy would it be, abolishing this law?
It's not going to be very easy. It's not going to be very easy because the circumstance in Zamfara is quite peculiar.
Okay.
Peculiar because a party that is not the party that brought the law into being came into power. In most states of the Federation, you have two issues that would not make this to be easy to replicate. One is that there is that tendency for the ruling party to be the party that will succeed itself. And because of that, it becomes very easy for members of the state legislatures to repeal a law that that many of them were probably those who promulgated it. That's number one. Number two, the self-interest of the governors would not make such a repeal to be easy. You must remember that there is an element of vendetta and contrarianism in what instructed the enactment of this repeal law.
All right.
Now, in most places, even when you have those elements of animosity, vindictiveness, and contrarianism, the self-interest of the person who ought to be the engine to galvanize it would...
But for how long can Nigerians bear this burden, seeing that we have a revenue generation problem?
For as long as Nigerians are supine enough and subservient enough to allow such a travesty of legislation to be in our statute books, and the middle class, you and I, are just like nasty politicians. That's the way they do. They shop us, they do this thing, and we just move on. You know what? At the end of the day, democracy is all about what those who are in leadership perceive to be the greatest concern of the people, that they are ready to be agitated upon, because self-preservation too would ultimately make those who are in power to play to those things that are of uppermost concern.
Talking about self-preservation now, this is his first term in office, and others believe that in his second term, he's just playing by the gallery at this point. In his second term, he might bring back that law.
It may be a hard sell. It may be a hard sell because you can't be seen. It's not going to be easy for you to be seen to be speaking from the two sides of a single mouth. On one occasion, you repealed it. We know, like I said earlier on, that there are elements of vendetta, animosity, contrarianism, partisanship. That's the word that encapsulates everything, is partisanship. Now, when you then get into your second term, you would want to reenact it.
You might bring it with another hand, in another way. It might not be the 10
your
million.
Successor too, haven't you noticed that since 2007, the only state where the hegemon has always and consistently been in control has been Lagos State. In all other states, even from 1999, when Nwobodo installed, what was the name of that doctor? When the doctor installed his attorney general, what has always happened? There are successive cases of betrayals and
So invariably we are saying governors do not need, or former governors do not need this upkeep allowance.
They need a modicum of award to recompense. I am one who actually believes, and I have to use this short opportunity to say it, I am one who actually believes that former governors, we ought to have laws that will institutionalize former governors, former legislators being incentivized getting part of the sustainable accomplishments that they leave in society. Let me give you a typical example. If today Sanwo-Olu orchestrates the building of 4th, 5th mainland bridge, I would support that he encourages the private sector to build it. I would support that in encouraging the private sector to build it, that he encourages that many cooperatives in Lagos join with big funders, big investment portfolios to do it. But you know what? As a mark of incentivization that successive governors too will do well, we should legislate that Sanwo-Olu can get 1% of whatever the investors in that district make as net profit for the rest of his life. That will mean that when I also become successor to Sanwo-Olu, I would want to do the 6th mainland bridge. I would want to do the 7th mainland bridge, and also target strategic infrastructure development, knowing that there is a body of law that incentivizes creativity, productivity, innovativeness, rather than what we have now, which is a reward for incompetence and ineptitude. What we have now is blatant legislative reward for ineptitude, and it does not incentivize an average chief executive of a state or a local government chairman, or indeed the president, to be motivated to do the right thing. And
so is this why some have said that we see that politics has become a do-or-die affair?
Oh, naturally, because it's a winner takes all package. My sister, have you ever imagined that if I contested an election with you and you won 351,000 votes and I won 350,999 in a first past the poll system that we run in Nigeria, you will then make decision for the next 4 years that will make it seem as though the 350, about 49.something% that voted for me against you don't really matter in the polity. And yet, in a country like Germany, you have what is called representational democracy. The percentage of our votes will be used to calibrate the formation of the legislature.
That's what most countries call minority government.
That is called representational democracy. And that is the difference between a country like Germany and a country like United Kingdom.
All
The
right.
next government in the UK will likely be constituted by somebody who ultimately won less than 25% of the total votes cast.
All right.
All right.
This system is wrong.
All right, we'll leave it here at this point. Gbola Oba, thank you for your insight
Thank you
on
very much
this
for the
topic.
privilege.